Here, there you go. It is letting me record to the cloud. So thank you all again for coming, and go ahead, Andrea.
Great. Thanks, Patty. Will, are you ready to take yourself off mute? And would you like to talk a little bit about CW resources? And then I have some questions maybe we can ask the participants or see if the audience has any questions. So I'll let you take it away, and thanks again for everything today.
No problem. So CW Resources, we're a Connecticut-based nonprofit organization. We've been out here since 2016, supporting the Air Force Base at Wright Pat. Our primary functions are janitorial. We do delve in a little bit of snow removal, and we do have a small landscape contract, all of which have disabled employees partaking, or our participants partaking in that style of work. I have built a relationship, or we have as a company, with the county through Trudy Woods. Very successful as far as helping us keep participants with our program that's ever changing. In 2016, our contract was only 60 buildings. In 2020, we doubled that. We're 120 buildings right now. And we're looking to expand even further. So that's kudos to everyone, and especially Trudy Woods and her group, keeping us afloat here.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate that. So I just have a couple of questions. When somebody gets hired on with CW Resources and to work at the base, do you have somebody out there providing job coaching?
We do not have on the ground job coaching. I would confer back to Trudy Woods for any direction, or if I needed extra supports, I would go back to her. We do have at our remote office in Connecticut, if I need support from that, I can reach back and ask for direction. But we do not have those types of boots on the ground here.
Okay, great. So so when do you think, after working with some of the students or the individuals you're working with now, when do you think a parent should start planning for employment for their son or daughter?
Well, I guess whenever they're ready. The way that would work is I'd give a signal out to Trudy that we're looking to hire folks, and we can go from there. It is a slow process getting on to the base, and that process there could take you up to about 2 weeks. So I guess to answer your question, give yourself about 2 to 3 weeks window before you think you'd actually be on the ground working here.
Okay, that's good to know. So do any of the individuals with you today, is there anything that they'd like to talk about, what work they do?
Well, I have Marketa Harris, who's been with us since 2016. I'm sure.
Hi, Marketa.
Hi.
She'd love to tell you all about herself. Go ahead and elaborate. What do you do?
What I do?
What do you do?
Clean restrooms.
You can take your mask.
Oh.
So go ahead. She's a little shy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I do janitorial.
Can you tell us what a typical day is like for you, Marketa, at work?
When I get here, I clock in at 6:30, and then I get my stuff and ready to clean. That's it. Right?
That's it, yeah.
And then I eat lunch at 12:30.
Okay. How long is your lunch break?
10 hours?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
It's like 45 minutes to 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on how we finish.
I was about to say an hour.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
it might feel that way.
Okay, well, awesome. Great, Marketa. So what's the best part of your job that you enjoy doing?
I don't know.
Can't pick one.
Cleaning restrooms.
Cleaning restrooms?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair.
I like doing that.
Yeah.
And meeting new people.
Meeting new people, that's awesome. That is the best part of having a job too, is meeting new people and getting to know everybody.
Yeah.
So Marketa, how do you get to work every day?
Green Cats.
Green Cats, okay. So that's going to be, for those of you joining in, Green Cats is a door-to-door service in Greene County. And you would schedule your ride to and from to get to and from work. I know we do a lot of work with RTA and Paratransit Connect too, so and we hear a lot of good things about that too. So it looks like Patty Schramm has put a question in the chat box. Are you able to read that, Marketa?
No, it ran away.
Would you like me to read it to you?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, so Patty's question to you, either Marketa or Will, is what happens if my child is struggling with a situation at work, such as getting overwhelmed by a situation or issue, and they need to step away from the job? How could that be handled?
You want to handle it? You want to explain how I do? Okay. So what we do is, so what we have on the ground, we have leads and supervisors and myself. And if that should come up, someone's having a tough day at work, we'll pull them to the side, speak to them first. If we can't get them to calm or come to a place where they're comfortable, then I usually myself, I would take them back to the office and have them sit down. And then if it should escalate even further, like we just can't cope today, then I would contact the agency and arrange transportation for that person to go home for the day to, kind of regroup. And we give them encouragement and tell them, hey, we can try it again on your next scheduled day. Okay. We just actually had that happen the other day. I had to send an individual home for that same situation. He was just having a really tough time coping. And when you dig down to it, a lot of times it's just an outside deal that's bothering them, where maybe they didn't get enough rest. They were up all night playing the game system, which seems to be pretty notorious for taking our folks down. But we got him home safely and he was okay. Hopefully we'll see him tomorrow.
Oh, that is so positive to hear, Will. Thank you. Sounds like you're very encouraging, or it sounds very encouraging if somebody's having a bad day, how you're going to work with the employees. So that's really wonderful to hear.
Yeah, that's our strong point here. In the center picture here is my assistant manager, Michelle Meadows.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. You might as well say the second boss.
Yes, the second
When you're
boss.
not here, she's the second boss, and she's in charge.
Yeah. But Marketa, did you want to add to that?
No.
Okay.
So I know we're going to turn everything over to Mike here in about 2 or 3 minutes. Are there anybody in the audience that has any questions for Will or Michelle or Marketa with CW Resources? So my question to you, Will and Michelle, is if somebody contacted us or somebody in the audience today and they would like to work at CW Resources, how would somebody go about applying?
Well, you would go right to our CW Resources website, and there you would see employment opportunities, and you could just see what's available.
Okay.
Or they could contact me via Trudy, and I can tell you exactly what's available here at this site.
Okay. Wonderful. Patty, is there anything you would like to add or ask any more questions?
I was trying to type something in. This is kind of for, I guess, and Mike, you guys can answer it when you get to your presentation part, but for Andrea, like for the parents, like tuning in, and where for a parent, okay, so we have a child that's coming up we're looking at possibly a job. who does that parent first reach out to start this process? I know they might talk about it in an IEP or something, but should a parent reach out to their county board, their SSA, or, I mean, we also know OOD, Opportunities for Hines with Disability, are also involved. Who's the first person a parent should reach out to?
Well, in my past, Patty, I've had parents start working with the schools, and maybe parents will have the schools, reach back out to the different agencies, and maybe they'll try to plan a meeting. So I don't know if Mike or Elizabeth want to add anything, or anybody else, but I think the parents kind of start with the schools, and then it just kind of all comes together.
Yes, I would agree with that. And I would also recommend reaching out to the support coordinator, because we do a lot of collaboration with OOD. They have a lot more funding available. So, and we've got a pretty good partnership. Gretchen Steinkamp, who leads Butler County for Employment First, actually used to be in our office. So we have a wonderful collaboration. And in our county, that's typically where it starts, is with the SSA.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good, Elizabeth. Thank you. So Will, is there, you or Marketa or Michelle, is there anything else you would like to add? Because I know you're busy and you probably need to get back to work or what you were doing, but I just wanted to check in if you guys needed to sign off.
I think on our end, we're good. Do you guys need anything else from us?
Nope, I think we're great. I just want to thank you again, Will. Thank you, Michelle and Marketa. Thanks for joining in. We really appreciate this.
Andrea, there was a question on how many hours a week does she work? So I think they were sending it to Marketa. I'm not sure if it was mentioned. How many hours do you work in a day or a week?
She works she works a total of 30 hours, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. But most of the folks that we have on board work approximately 19 hours a week. So that's 3 days, 6 hours per, with a lunch break.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
Andrea, did you have anything else to add before we switch over to Butler County?
I don't think so. I will just check in with the audience. Does anybody have any questions in regards to Montgomery County DD? Again, I started off at the very beginning. We do a collaboration with OOD, and we do a lot of work within our agency and making sure everyone is doing well within their jobs. But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat box, or you can ask now.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Mike Sweetin and Elizabeth Reisner from Butler County. I'll let them introduce themselves, but yeah, everybody that's on, please feel free to type in the chat box any questions you may have. And at the end, we'll just open it up. If you don't want to type, you can wait to the end. You can raise your hand or whatever to ask it verbally as well. So I'll turn it over to Mike and Elizabeth.
Hey, so Mike Sweetin, Transition Services Coordinator with Butler County Board of DD. And I'm actually going to pass it over to Elizabeth, who's going to start off with that little Word document that she added into the start of the chat. And she is going to start off with all of the where do you go first, who do you kind of contact first, those steps that we were starting to chat about. And then I'll chime back in later. All right, thanks.
Hey, everyone. Well, like Mike said, I'm Elizabeth Reisner, the Employment Services Coordinator here at Butler County. So Butler County runs a very small but mighty team. So we've got myself, and then we also have 2 employment navigators. And what we do is we divide them up amongst the SSAs, and we do work with the transition folks as well, not as often as we do with the adult team. But a question was asked earlier, and what I tried to do was I compiled a document, that kind of went through the different questions that were asked of us. So I'll just touch briefly on some of those. So according to Employment First rule, we believe that you should start early with employment planning, meaning as early as the age of 14, gauging people's interest, what's available volunteer-wise in their community, so that way it doesn't seem as daunting of a task to when somebody asks, what do you want to do for work? They've had some real life experience within the community already. So starting early, I think, is key, but we help people of all ages. In fact, yesterday we had a woman who's 70 years old, and she just made her 5th year anniversary at Walmart.
Oh,
So with her permission, I'd love to share the pictures with you guys, just so that you can see that we have people all across the spectrum that we support. And then another question that was asked was, what agencies do we have to support individuals? So we have some great agencies that you guys have probably heard of. We're very fortunate in Butler County to meet with each of these providers monthly so that we can assist them with anything that they need. But there is Capabilities, Goodwill, Easter Seals, Steadfast, and the Achievement Center. And then some other questions that were asked were, what types of services do we have when somebody shows interest in employment? And the main two that I wanted to touch upon were career discovery and then benefits analysis and education, because I think those are two that kind of get thrown out of the mix a lot, and they can be very helpful in the planning process. So a benefits analysis will look at the financial impact on public assistance programs and kind of let somebody know how many hours that they can work at what rate of pay, because I know that that's a big barrier that we hear to work, as people are scared. So this report can help them feel more encouraged. And then I also wanted to mention too, we've recently had a spike in interest of people wanting to learn to drive. So we have partnered with Capabilities quite a bit on that. And they also do a wonderful career discovery program. A lot of our providers are stepping up to do different types of career discovery that we haven't seen before. Goodwill has implemented one that will help people feel safe, because as we know, a lot of people have been off for a bit of time with COVID, and they're a little bit apprehensive about going back to work. So they have mapped out a special career discovery for that. So, and then I would say job development is another career planning service that we utilize often. And that is where we will let the person pick a job developer, and they'll meet, weekly for 5 hours and go out and apply to places in the community. So that's kind of in a nutshell how we do things in Butler County. We do partner a lot with OOD, like I said, but then we also, use a lot of waiver and local dollars for funding as well. So if anybody has any questions specifically, Mike and I would be happy to answer those.
Will you be able to share, you said something about you made a list. Will you be able to share that list then, like on a document or?
Yeah, it's in the chat there.
Okay.
Just for everybody to download and look at their leisure. Okay. And I will also put my email and phone number in the chat. So, because it always happens that you have a million questions, after things are over. But another thing that I could touch on, and I think Mike is going to talk more about it, is transportation, because we know that that's a large barrier for people, but we've got several options in this county, and we know that a lot of places are unfortunately short drivers, even school bus drivers. I've heard that. So that is something that we are actively working on.
If you can repost that link that you put in, or what you had put in earlier, because when I'm going, maybe because I was running late, it's not showing on my chat.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so I can have that information to share.
All right, so I will jump in there. Yes, transportation, it's that horrible word that we hear when we start heading towards employment. We always hear about the challenges that come with transportation, but somehow it always works out. No matter what the situation is, the person is getting to work. So one of the questions was, who helps with lining up the transportation? Obviously, if you've got a support coordinator, talk with your support coordinator. OOD's still in the picture, school staff might still be in the picture. Just talk with your team, but that support coordinator is going to be key. What they're going to talk about is if there is family and natural supports involved, we're going to check with their schedules first. Does your son, your daughter, grandson, granddaughter, whoever it is, does their work schedule match up with your work schedule? Are you driving past their work? If you are, hey, take them to work. You might as well. You're on the way. That's great. That's just a natural support, taking that person to work. We talked about capabilities earlier. If the person can go and get a driver's license, OOD can assist with driver's training, and they can get a driver's license, get some independence on the go, and get a car, take themselves to work. So that's an option. Hopefully, the job developer is looking for a job that is somewhat close to their house. That's always going to be key, not 2 counties over, because if there is some sort of funding needed for transportation, that's going to cost a whole lot more. But if it's close, we might start talking about, maybe we don't need transportation. Maybe we're going to walk. Maybe you can jump on a bike and just cycle to work. So those are some of the options. There are obviously UTS, RTA. We heard about the door-to-door kind of service in different counties. The RTA in Butler County does have that kind of door-to-door service. Needs some scheduling, and sometimes scheduling can have a challenge depending on the person's work schedule. So there are some options, and it's just talking with that support coordinator. But again, there's a little more information in that sheet, and it really does come down to the work schedule. So worrying about, if you've got services set up, what if they are late? What if it's going to make your son or daughter late to work? How is that going to affect them at work? Well, hopefully the job developer or an independent person has talked about this to the supervisor during an interview and said, hey, I don't bring myself to work. I rely on a transportation company, and they might not be very reliable. So it may not be my fault if I'm late. So they're going to run me, and maybe it's going to be an hour late. So that's been discussed prior to starting the job. So there's already an understanding there. A lot of the times the job developers have a good relationship with the employers, and they already know that many of the individuals that we're working with are relying on these transportation companies. And maybe it's just, hey, we got stuck at a train track, the same as we would. So make that call ahead and say, hey, I'm running late. Typical situation. So just having that communication is going to help. We've got a little bit in here just saying, if they already know that the employee is a hard worker, that's a good sign as well. They know that they've got some good work ethic. They want to come to work. They know they're a hard worker. They're not just deliberately trying to get out of work and skipping out on work. So there's also that could count for them as well. And then how often will the work supports be in the workplace? So we're talking about the job development side. And again, that's going to depend on each person's situation. So we have some people set up. The main goal overall, of course, is we want supports to fade away. And I know that if you're a parent coming into this, that could sound scary because we want supports to be there for our sons and daughters. But the goal is, of course, to have that support fade away. And it should be able to, because they've learned the job, they understand the job. So that support that was in place, and I'm going to make a number up, 5 hours a week. They don't need that person anymore 5 hours a week, because they now understand their job, their role, their routine, their schedule. They've got it. They know what they're going to do. So now that person doesn't come 5 hours a week. They might only come 1 hour a week, and they just follow up. They check in. Hey, were there any challenges this week? Did anything change in your job? Were you asked to do a different part of your job? Were you asked to work in a different department? Let's work on those challenges, and I'll check in again next week. In the time between that, they can follow up with natural supports at their workplace. So their supervisor, maybe coworkers, and say, hey, how did you want me to do this again? So those are communication skills that have been built along the way during those 5 hours a week that have helped them be able to fade that service away. And again, that is a really quick snapshot because, well, lunch and learn. But we've got a little bit listed in there. And of course, you can reach out to us. I'll put my name and number in here as well. You can follow up if you have support coordinators. Reach out to them, discuss this, reach out to your OOD counselor, discuss it with job developers, that sort of stuff. But it's all sort of there individualized to help an individual accomplish what they need to accomplish.
I do see, thank you, Mike, for that. And I do see there's some others representing some other county boards of developmental disabilities. Feel free in the chat, put your contact information in there so that if there's a parent that is listening or tunes in, that they can also know who to reach out to in their area. I think you guys hit a lot on a lot of issues. I mean, we had, when our son started working, taxi was late, but we did that prep work like Mike mentioned. We talked to the supervisor ahead of time, and they understood the service that he was provided for transportation was out of his control. And because it was late, it wasn't like he was late through his own, through himself. It was because the taxi was late getting there, picking him up and taking him to work. So yeah, so communication is very important. Communicating with your SSA, communicating with the supervisor on the job, all that is great information and very helpful, I think, to make a successful employment for your child. Now, I'm going to stop the recording. So if there's anybody that has any questions and want us to verbally, if they don't want to type it in, you'll be able to do that. But I want to thank those who came for coming. I did record this and I'll post it out. Again, I apologize for being a little late. Technical difficulties, the wonderful world of internet. So let me stop the recording real quick here.